Okay, so last time you were on, it was almost a year ago. It was right after the election. And you, at that point, were in a very different space because you and your wife had suffered a miscarriage and you were sad. You were really bummed out about it. And you guys were trying to, you just never know if it's going to happen before it actually does happen. So you get pregnant, you have these beautiful twins, boy and a girl. And at the same time, your health implodes. I mean, you almost died over the summer. So when I talk about that, what's it bringing up for you? Are you still stuck in the ecstasy of the childbirth or the agony of the health issues?
It's funny. I talk about this quite a bit on air as someone who sort of struggled with depression my whole life. I'm more driven by responsibilities and by commitment and wanting to be good to my word than I am by, I guess, sort of pursuing joy because it's so elusive. That being said, it's unbelievable. Obviously, having children, it does change you, and I understand now what people are talking about, connecting with their children. But as far as the day to day, here's what happened. Last December, I started getting these, and it actually started, funny enough, we did a music video of The Bravery's Honest Mistake, and I was wearing a mask. And that was the first time I started getting what felt like these heart palpitations, ba-boom, 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 where we have V-roll of me like going, all right, we have to cut, pulling off my mask and being unable to breathe and getting dizzy. And this kept happening. And, I went to doctors and they said, well, it's panic attacks. I said, I don't think these are panic attacks. I can actually feel it. But the problem is when doctors just say, well, it's panic attack, you assume it must be true. And so I thought I was losing my mind. I thought, well, I guess I just can't stop getting panic attacks. We found out, and this is a whole long story short, due to genetic, it's called Ehlers-Danlos. It's this connective tissue thing, but I don't want to be one of those people who goes out and champions like, you can still do it with Ehlers-Danlos. The fact is we all have a pain in the ass. The cartilage doesn't really work very well in my body. My sternum was pressing against my heart and my lungs, so my heart wasn't able to pump fully. So it was actually happening. I wasn't losing my mind.
That had never happened before? This was like a new issue?
No, it had been slowly, I guess, kind of getting worse and worse as you get older. So I'd always had a concave. Funny enough, on air, I think 6 years ago, we did a competition to see how many coffee beans we could fit in my sternum hole. And it was 104. I didn't know that it was killing me. I was like, look at this. Because as a kid, I used to eat M&Ms out of it. It was like you use it as a cereal bowl.
God.
And I didn't know that it was actually, as you get older, it can become a little more substantial. So they did amazing surgery at Mayo. Okay, just to be clear, great work. Please, they are blameless. They put in 3 titanium rods, push it back out. The problem is they told me that you'll be able to walk like within a day or two. And then I overdid it. I called them and said, well, I'm not feeling that well. And I said, what do you mean? I said, well, I went to Costco and I went to, they said, wait, you went to Costco in the grocery store? Are you out of your mind? I said, what? They said, we meant like walk from the kitchen to the bathroom. You're not supposed to be going out. So that's when I had some kind of weird internal bleeding and it collapsed my lungs, 1.5 gallons of fluid in my body 2 weeks before the twins came. But look, it's a pain in the ass. Everyone has their pain in the ass. And the twins are great.
Stop it. Don't just skip by that. So the day of the lung collapse, what did that feel like?
Oh, Megyn, you're going to do that. You're going to try and get me to cry. I talked about this.
No, I want to know.
I called. Okay, here's what happened was it got worse very rapidly. I'd already had 2 x-rays, and they said, well, maybe there's some fluid in there, but an x-ray can't really tell you. And one night, I went upstairs, and it was just really hard for me to breathe. So I go to bed, and now I'm realizing I can't breathe. It's about like this. It's about everything that I have, everything to move my diaphragm and but the exhaling is, right, feels like a truck. And I was kind of going in and out of consciousness because every time I would wake up, I would say, just, okay, don't stop breathing, don't stop breathing, don't stop breathing, till it got to the point where people take for granted your diaphragm, everything, right? I have 1.5 gallons of fluid in here and I can't even sit up. I can feel the lactic acid building up. Like when you work out and your muscles get tired, and I can feel the muscles in my diaphragm getting really, really tired, like unable to expand for air. And I started seeing stars, and I thought I thought there's a 50-50 shot if I go out that I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna get tired and stop breathing. So I called my dad at that point, and told him I thought it might be the last time that we talk. And my friend who was downstairs in the basement, I couldn't even shout to him, couldn't hear me. For some reason, woke up, took me to the hospital. They started draining me. I hit a nurse, which I don't regret. I'll explain that later. And then 5 days later, after being in the ICU, I was able to go home and then able to be there for as much as you can be there with the whole COVID thing for the delivery of my twins. Yeah.
Oh my. So your wife is 9 months pregnant and you literally are almost dying.
Yeah.
So dumb question, but when you have one lung that collapses, does the other lung not work? How come you couldn't get the breath in?
Well, the other lung was partially collapsed too. So, and keep in mind what it is. It's not fluid in the lungs. It's fluid in the thoracic cavity, right? So it creates water pressure. So then basically the lungs can no longer expand. And I will tell you, out of everything that I had done, the most painful part was when they drained me, because a gallon and a half, they had to do it over the course of like 4 days, I think. And that first one, they weren't expecting as much fluid. So they put in a shot to numb you, but they put in a shot to numb you about, 3 inches deep. And then they stick in, I don't know when a needle becomes a pipe, but they stick in what is effectively like a renovation pipe through your rib cage into your lung cavity and pull it out. And that creates this basic, like this change in pressure where that was the most painful thing, namely because they didn't warn me. They were like, you ever had this done? I said, no. They're like, it's not fun. That's all they said.
Oh no. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I understand, like, just in having gotten an epidural on birth of my child, I understand like the needle turning into the pipe, but not like this. I didn't feel it at all.
It was in for 6 minutes, and they're like, now, and then just before he puts it in, he goes, okay, he goes, we just put in the numbing thing. He goes, and then almost leans in, like he's been very friendly, but now all of a sudden he's serious, and he goes, now just so you know, when I put this in, you're going to want to cough. It is very important that you do not cough. And then what do you think the first thing is you have to do? Cough. I'm like, what's going to happen if I cough? Am I gonna die? Like, what do I do here? So it's just the whole process.
It's terrifying. So could your wife be in the hospital at this point?
No, I was across the country because she couldn't fly. So because I had to go to Mayo Clinic in Arizona, and she was at the point where she couldn't fly. I mean, thank God. Well, I should have just classified her as being an Air Force pilot so they could have the stretchy maternity suit that our government's spending billions of dollars on. That's not a joke.
That's right.
That's right. Maternity. I remember when I was hearing that story, I'm going, my wife can't fly now. So no, my wife wasn't able to be with me, and it was not supposed to go this long. The whole reason for getting the surgery at this point was there was an opening with COVID, that kind of stuff, and I was supposed to be able to be back for several weeks at home before the birth, because with twins they do a C-section. It's kind of scheduled, and then this put a wrinkle in the plan. So she was very tolerant. And honestly, one thing I will say for people out there right now, it's a pain in the ass. For example, like doing this show, I'm getting, after doing a show of my own and been up since 4, I lose energy quickly still. And it's the real thing is, I think I've learned that it's tough to find, like right now I have to do the rehabilitation exercises. And I kind of started feeling sorry for myself for a little bit. That's why I say just think of it as a pain in the ass, because look, when you have all the scar tissue and the titanium rods going in and just moving the empty barbell is excruciating. But you know what? It's just like, it's tough to get motivated to go into the gym at 5 a.m. to know that it's going to hurt and you're going to be very, very weak. It's not like when you go in and you're making progress. And sometimes, I'm not just trying to be dismissive of it, you just have to look at it and say, everyone's got their pain in the ass. This is what I have right now. It's one thing I have to deal with. I'm not dead. I'm not dying. I am improving. It's just going to be a long way to go. And that's just something you got to do.